Your soulmate is crying out, please open this before it's too late. My beloved child, remain with this voice for just one more moment, because what is about to unfold has been waiting for you far longer than you realize. There are moments that arrive quietly, almost unnoticed, yet they carry the power to reshape everything that follows. This is one of those moments. Don't rush away. There is a message hidden between the silence you have been living and the future that is slowly reaching toward you. What if the feeling you've been unable to explain wasn't your imagination at all? What if someone, somewhere, has been carrying your name in the deepest chamber of their heart while searching for the courage to let it be heard? Stay a little longer. The next few moments may reveal something your soul has sensed long before your mind could understand. Listen carefully. Because not every cry is made with tears. Some cries are hidden inside sleepless nights. Some are concealed behind forced smiles. Some are carried by people who appear completely fine while their hearts whisper a single name over and over again. That unseen whisper has been traveling through time, through distance, through countless unanswered questions. And somehow, it has found its way to this very moment. Nothing about this feels accidental. Every unexpected delay, every unanswered question, every strange coincidence has quietly been arranging pieces that you could never have assembled on your own. Have you noticed how certain memories refuse to disappear? You tell yourself you've moved on, yet something gently pulls your attention back. It's not because you're trapped in the past. Sometimes the future reaches backward before it finally arrives. Sometimes destiny leaves echoes before it opens the next chapter. Strange, isn't it? The more you tried to ignore those quiet feelings, the stronger they became. Ask yourself this: why now? Why today? Why did these words find you at this exact time? Before you dismiss it as another ordinary message, wait. There is another layer you haven't seen yet. Imagine someone standing beneath a sky filled with unanswered dreams. Their life continues. Their responsibilities remain. They smile for others. They speak when spoken to. Yet deep within, there is a conversation they replay every single day. They wonder if the distance between two hearts can truly disappear. They wonder if missed opportunities can still become new beginnings. They wonder whether the person they cannot stop thinking about has forgotten them, or whether the invisible thread connecting two souls still exists. That quiet wondering has slowly become a silent cry, not of despair, but of hope that refuses to fade. Here's what makes this extraordinary. The loudest transformations never announce themselves. They begin with tiny shifts no one notices. A single thought changes. A single decision softens. A single fear loses its grip. Then suddenly, everything begins moving in a direction no one expected. Your story has not been standing still. Even when you believed nothing was happening, invisible pieces were changing places behind the scenes. Every delay carried preparation. Every unanswered moment carried hidden purpose. What seemed like silence was actually movement beyond your sight. Stay with this thought for a moment. What if the reason you kept feeling that something important was approaching wasn't because you were waiting for someone, but because someone was slowly becoming ready to meet the version of you that exists today? Growth changes both sides of a story. Sometimes two paths must travel separately until they become capable of creating something neither could build alone. That's why rushing has never been the answer. Timing has been quietly protecting what impatience could have destroyed. There is another question worth asking. Why do certain connections survive despite distance, despite time, despite every logical reason to let go? Perhaps because some journeys are measured differently. They aren't measured by calendars or miles. They're measured by lessons learned, hearts transformed, and moments of awakening. Every challenge has been shaping more than your circumstances, it has been shaping your ability to recognize what truly belongs in your life when it finally appears. Do not mistake stillness for absence. Rivers appear calm before they reach the waterfall. The sky becomes quiet before dawn begins painting it with light. Likewise, some of the greatest turning points arrive after long seasons where nothing seems to change. The silence itself becomes the invitation. And those willing to remain patient often witness what hurried hearts completely miss. Something remarkable happens when hope refuses to disappear. It starts attracting possibilities that fear could never recognize. Somewhere beyond what your eyes can currently see, conversations are changing. Perspectives are shifting. Old walls are beginning to crack. Hearts that once hid behind uncertainty are slowly learning the courage to be honest. No one notices these quiet victories while they're happening. Only later does everyone call them destiny. So before this moment slips away, hold on to one simple thought: not every unanswered chapter is unfinished. Some chapters pause because the next page deserves a stronger beginning. Wait till the final moment before deciding that your story has already been written. Because what seems impossible today may already be moving toward you in ways you cannot yet imagine, and the quiet cry that started this journey may soon become the voice that changes everything. A strange realization is about to surface, and if you've stayed this far, you're exactly where you need to be. The silence that once felt empty is beginning to reveal its hidden language. Most people walk away before they recognize it. But you didn't. That alone changes what comes next. Keep listening, because the next piece of this journey connects everything you've been wondering about. Picture a door that has never truly been locked. For years, it simply waited for the right moment to open. That is how many life-changing connections unfold. They are not forced. They are not chased. They awaken naturally when both hearts have grown enough to recognize what they almost overlooked. Somewhere beyond your sight, someone has been replaying moments they thought they had forgotten. A familiar laugh. A simple conversation. A feeling that returned without warning. The smallest memories often carry the greatest truths. What if the tears described in this story were never a sign of weakness? What if they were the moment when old fears finally lost their power? Sometimes people don't cry because they are broken. Sometimes they cry because they can no longer hide what has always been true inside them. The heart grows tired of pretending. It reaches a point where silence becomes heavier than honesty. And when that happens, everything begins to shift. Stay a little longer, because this is where the unseen transformation becomes visible. Imagine someone looking back over every choice they made, every opportunity they let pass, every word they wished they had spoken differently. Instead of regret pulling them backward, something unexpected happens. It begins pushing them forward. They realize that the future still holds possibilities they once believed had disappeared. That single realization changes their direction completely. Have you ever noticed how certain moments seem ordinary while they're happening, only to realize later they changed your entire path? Life rarely announces its biggest turning points with loud celebrations. They often arrive disguised as quiet decisions, simple conversations, or unexpected moments of clarity. The story unfolding here follows that same pattern. A heart that once hesitated is beginning to choose courage over uncertainty. Before we continue, if this message has stirred something within you, let your thoughts be heard in the comments. Your perspective may encourage someone else who needed these words today. And if stories like this speak to your heart, consider subscribing so we can continue exploring these remarkable journeys together. Sometimes the next message arrives exactly when it's needed most. Now return your attention to this unfolding moment. Imagine the distance between two lives becoming smaller, not because miles disappeared, but because understanding replaced confusion. Every lesson you've learned has been preparing you to recognize what truly matters when the opportunity arrives. Growth has quietly transformed both sides of this story. Neither heart is standing where it once stood. Here's the surprising truth: destiny rarely rushes, yet it is never late. It waits until wisdom catches up with desire. It allows patience to strengthen what emotion alone could never sustain. The delays you questioned may have been protecting something far greater than you realized. Every unanswered day carried invisible preparation. Before you move on, hear this carefully. There is a difference between waiting aimlessly and preparing faithfully. One drains hope. The other builds it. Right now, unseen pieces continue moving into place. New conversations are forming. New perspectives are emerging. And what once felt impossible is slowly becoming imaginable. You might think this story is only about another person, but look deeper. It is equally about the person you have become. Because when the next chapter finally opens, it won't simply reunite two paths. It will reveal why every unexpected turn, every delay, and every quiet season had meaning all along. And believe it or not, the most unexpected revelation has not been spoken yet. Something extraordinary is drawing closer. Can you feel the quiet change in the atmosphere? It doesn't arrive with noise or dramatic signs. It arrives like the first light before sunrise, gentle, undeniable, impossible to stop once it begins. This is the part many people never reach, because they mistake patience for the end of the story. But you stayed, and now another layer is ready to unfold. Imagine a single message left unwritten for far too long. Not because the words didn't exist, but because the courage hadn't fully awakened. Day after day, someone stood at the edge of a decision, wondering whether hope was stronger than fear. Each sunrise whispered, maybe today. Each sunset carried another promise of soon. Yet something inside them refused to let your memory fade. Instead, it became clearer, calmer, and more certain with every passing moment. Here's the mystery few people notice: the heart doesn't always move in a straight line. Sometimes it circles back, not because it is lost, but because it has finally discovered what truly matters. What once looked like coincidence begins revealing a hidden pattern. Familiar songs appear at unexpected moments. Meaningful memories return without invitation. Tiny reminders seem to arrive exactly when they are needed. None of them force an answer, but together, they create a picture too meaningful to ignore. Stay with this thought, because it may change the way you see your own journey. What if every unanswered question has quietly been teaching you how to recognize the right answer? Growth rarely feels exciting while it is happening. It often feels like waiting. Like trusting. Like walking through a chapter where nothing appears to change. Yet beneath the surface, invisible foundations are becoming strong enough to support a future that once seemed impossible. Now imagine two separate roads stretching across different landscapes. For a long time, they never seemed to meet. One path carried lessons of patience. The other carried lessons of courage. Neither understood why the journey had taken so many unexpected turns. But from above, from a perspective far greater than either traveler could see, those roads had always been moving toward the same horizon. Every detour had purpose. Every delay had direction. Before you decide that the story has reached its conclusion, listen to this carefully. The loudest answers are not always the truest ones. Sometimes the deepest truth arrives quietly, settling into the heart without demanding attention. It replaces doubt with peace. It transforms uncertainty into quiet confidence. And once that happens, even the future begins to look different. There may come a moment when everything suddenly makes sense, not because every mystery is solved, but because your heart finally understands why it had to keep believing. On that day, you'll look back at these silent seasons and realize they were never empty. They were preparing you to receive something you could not have carried before. So hold this final thought close as this chapter comes to an end. The cry that echoed through unseen moments was never asking you to live in fear of losing something. It was calling you to remain open to hope, to growth, and to the possibility that the best chapters often begin long after people think the story is over. And this is only the beginning, because what happens next will not simply answer the questions you've been carrying. It will reveal a truth that has been quietly waiting for the perfect moment to step into the light. Everything has been leading to this moment, and yet the most remarkable part is still unfolding. Take one more step with this story before you leave, because the final pieces are beginning to connect in ways neither heart could have predicted. Sometimes the greatest revelation doesn't arrive as a surprise, it arrives as a quiet certainty that suddenly makes every unanswered question feel worthwhile. Imagine standing at the edge of a new season, looking back at everything that once felt confusing. The waiting. The silence. The moments that seemed to have no meaning. From this new perspective, they no longer appear as obstacles. They look like bridges. Every experience shaped your ability to recognize authenticity instead of illusion. Every challenge strengthened your ability to value peace over uncertainty. The person you are becoming is not the same person who started this journey. And that transformation changes everything. Now consider this possibility. Somewhere, another heart has also been transformed by time. The fears that once controlled every decision are beginning to fade. The uncertainty that once created distance is giving way to clarity. Growth has quietly replaced hesitation. Not all at once. Not dramatically. But one honest realization at a time. This is how lasting change usually happens, through small moments that become impossible to ignore. Pause here for just a second. What if this very chapter is less about finding someone else, and more about discovering the version of yourself that can finally welcome something meaningful without fear? Real connections are rarely built by perfect timing alone. They are built when two people have learned the value of truth, patience, and emotional maturity. That is why every lesson you've lived through still matters today. If these words have resonated with your heart, I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Your story might become the encouragement someone else has been searching for. And if these cinematic journeys continue to inspire you, consider subscribing so we can keep exploring the unseen moments that often shape our greatest chapters together. As this message reaches its closing moments, notice how different the atmosphere feels from the beginning. What started as a quiet cry has become something entirely different. It has become hope. Not the kind that depends on perfect circumstances, but the kind that remains steady because it has been strengthened by experience. Hope that no longer asks, "Will everything happen exactly as I imagined?" Instead, it gently whispers, "Whatever comes next, I am ready to meet it." The future has a remarkable way of revealing answers only after we become capable of understanding them. Perhaps that is why certain chapters remain unwritten for a little longer. Not to create disappointment, but to allow wisdom to catch up with desire. When that happens, even the smallest meeting, the simplest conversation, or the quietest moment can carry extraordinary meaning. So before this story fades into silence, remember one final truth: no sincere hope is ever wasted when it helps you become stronger, kinder, and more aware. Every meaningful journey leaves you different than it found you. And sometimes, the greatest gift is not simply reaching the destination, it is realizing that every step prepared you to appreciate it when it finally arrives. This chapter closes here, but your story does not. Somewhere beyond today's horizon, new pages are already waiting to be written. And when you eventually look back on this moment, you may discover that this wasn't the ending you expected. It was the beginning you never saw coming. A quiet question still remains, and perhaps it is the one that matters most. After everything you've heard, after every hidden clue and every silent turning point, there is one final layer waiting to be uncovered. Don't rush away just yet. Sometimes the last few moments of a story become the ones people remember for the rest of their lives. Think about how often life has surprised you. The opportunities you never planned became the ones that changed you. The people you never expected to meet left the deepest impact. The moments you almost ignored became unforgettable memories. That is the rhythm of destiny. It rarely follows the path we imagine. Instead, it quietly prepares something greater while we are focused somewhere else. What if the cry you sensed throughout this journey was never meant to make you anxious? What if it was simply a reminder that genuine connections are built on honesty, patience, and personal growth? The strongest bonds are not created through urgency. They are created when two lives become ready to meet with clarity instead of confusion. That readiness cannot be rushed. It can only be lived. Notice how different your perspective feels now. At the beginning, everything seemed wrapped in mystery. Questions filled the silence. Doubt stood beside hope. But as each chapter unfolded, another truth emerged: the future belongs to those who continue growing even when they cannot yet see the destination. That is the quiet strength that changes lives. There will always be voices telling you to give up too soon, to settle too quickly, or to stop believing in meaningful possibilities. Yet history is filled with stories that began only after everyone else assumed the opportunity had already passed. The greatest transformations often arrive after the longest seasons of preparation. Keep that thought close whenever life feels slower than you expected. And here's something remarkable. Every experience you've carried, every success, every disappointment, every lesson, has become part of the person standing here today. None of it was meaningless. Even the chapters you wished had ended sooner were shaping your wisdom, your resilience, and your ability to recognize authenticity when it finally appears. So if you ever wonder whether your journey still has beautiful pages ahead, remember this: tomorrow has never been written by yesterday's doubts. Every sunrise offers the chance for a new perspective, a new conversation, a new beginning. The future is not asking you to carry fear into it. It is inviting you to carry hope, confidence, and the courage to remain open to what life still has in store. As these words come to a close, let this final thought stay with you. Some stories end with answers. The greatest ones end with possibility. Because possibility keeps the heart awake, the mind curious, and the spirit ready for whatever comes next. Perhaps that is why you were meant to hear this message today, not to predict your future, but to remind you that your next chapter is still being written. Walk forward with quiet confidence. Keep your heart open. Continue becoming the person you are meant to be. And when the right moment finally arrives, you won't have to force the door open. You'll simply recognize that it has been opening toward you all along. Until our paths cross again, remember this: every meaningful beginning once looked like an ordinary day. And perhaps, today is far more extraordinary than it first appeared. One final horizon is waiting, and if your heart has traveled through every chapter until now, then this closing message is for you. Every word you've heard has been pointing toward a single realization. Not that someone else holds the key to your future, but that your future becomes brighter the moment you stop doubting the value of your own journey. Stay until the very last line, because sometimes an ending quietly becomes the beginning of everything that follows. Imagine waking one morning and noticing that something inside you has changed. The world outside may look exactly the same, yet your thoughts carry a new calm. The questions that once demanded immediate answers no longer control your peace. You begin to understand that the strongest connections are never built through fear or desperation. They grow where trust, patience, and genuine growth have taken root. Now picture another heart reaching the same understanding at almost the same time. Not because life is following a perfect script, but because growth often moves quietly before anyone notices it. Two separate journeys can mature in different seasons and still arrive at a meaningful crossroads. That is the beauty of timing: it doesn't compete with the clock. It unfolds when both people are ready to recognize what truly matters. Look back for just a moment. Every unexpected turn in this story carried a purpose. The silence taught reflection. The waiting taught resilience. The uncertainty revealed the importance of hope. Even the moments that felt empty were quietly preparing room for something more meaningful than immediate answers. Nothing valuable was wasted. And here is the greatest revelation of all. The cry that echoed through this entire journey was never asking you to lose yourself while waiting for another person. It was inviting you to protect your light, to keep becoming wiser, kinder, and more courageous with every passing day. Because when your inner world grows stronger, every future relationship, opportunity, and dream has a healthier foundation to stand upon. Before this journey comes to its close, let me thank every one of you who stayed from the very beginning until this final chapter. Your time, your thoughts, and your presence make these stories meaningful. If this message encouraged you or gave you a fresh perspective, feel free to share it with someone who might need a little hope today. Your words in the comments often become a light for someone reading in silence, and subscribing simply means we'll continue exploring more inspiring journeys together. As the final page turns, remember this: your story is still alive. New conversations will happen. New opportunities will appear. New chapters will open when you least expect them. Don't measure your future by yesterday's delays. Measure it by the person you are becoming today. So walk forward without fear. Let gratitude replace doubt. Let wisdom replace impatience. Let hope become stronger than uncertainty. The road ahead may still hold surprises, but now you know something you didn't know at the beginning: every meaningful destination begins with a heart willing to keep moving. Until the next story finds you, carry this thought wherever you go: sometimes the most beautiful answers arrive quietly, long after the world has stopped expecting them. And when they do, you'll realize that every step, every pause, and every lesson was leading you toward a future more meaningful than you could have imagined. This chapter ends here, but your greatest chapters are still waiting to be written. A new whisper is rising, not from the distance, but from within your own journey. If you've stayed until this moment, then perhaps you were never searching for a prediction, you were searching for perspective. And sometimes, perspective becomes the very thing that changes the direction of an entire life. Stay with me for these final moments, because one last truth deserves to be heard. There comes a point when every meaningful story stops asking, "When will everything happen?" and begins asking, "Who am I becoming while I wait?" That question changes everything. It shifts your focus from chasing certainty to embracing growth. Suddenly, every quiet season becomes a classroom. Every delay becomes preparation. Every unexpected turn becomes another piece of a much larger picture that only time can fully reveal. Imagine looking back 1 year from now. You won't remember every uncertain day or every restless thought. You'll remember the moment you decided not to let fear write the ending of your story. You'll remember choosing hope over hesitation. You'll remember realizing that your greatest strength was never found in having all the answers. It was found in continuing forward even when the answers hadn't arrived yet. What if this message reached you today for that exact reason? Not to convince you that tomorrow will unfold in a particular way, but to remind you that your attitude toward tomorrow is something you can shape today. That quiet shift is more powerful than it first appears. It changes how you speak, how you dream, how you recognize opportunities that were always there, waiting for your attention. Take a slow breath and notice something remarkable. The story that began with a silent cry has transformed into a quiet confidence. The uncertainty that once filled every chapter has gradually given way to understanding. Not because every mystery disappeared, but because you discovered that peace doesn't always come from knowing what happens next. Sometimes it comes from trusting that you can meet whatever comes next with wisdom and courage. And perhaps that's the hidden message carried through every chapter of this journey: meaningful connections flourish where authenticity lives. They cannot be forced. They cannot be rushed. They are strengthened by honesty, kindness, patience, and the willingness to keep growing, regardless of what the future holds. Before this final moment fades, thank yourself for staying until the end. In a world that constantly encourages people to rush past everything, you chose to slow down and reflect. That choice alone has value. Reflection creates clarity. Clarity creates confidence. And confidence opens doors that doubt often leaves closed. As our paths separate for now, carry this thought with you wherever life leads next: the brightest chapters are not reserved for perfect people, they belong to those who never stop learning, never stop hoping, and never stop becoming the best version of themselves. So lift your eyes toward the horizon. There are still conversations waiting to happen. There are still dreams waiting to awaken. There are still moments of unexpected joy waiting around corners you cannot yet see. Walk toward them with an open heart, a peaceful mind, and unwavering hope. Because the most beautiful part of your story has never been the mystery that surrounded it. It has always been the quiet courage that carried you through it. My beloved child, before this journey disappears into silence, allow one final reflection to settle in your heart, because endings are rarely what they seem. The last page of one chapter often becomes the first sentence of another, and those who understand this secret never lose hope when life grows quiet. Remain here for just a little longer. There is one final light waiting beyond these words. If you've listened from the beginning, you've probably noticed something unusual. This story was never truly about chasing another person. It was about awakening to the quiet strength that already lived within you. Every mysterious moment, every pause, every unanswered question gently pointed toward the same truth: a peaceful heart sees opportunities that a fearful heart overlooks. Think of a seed resting beneath the earth. To someone passing by, nothing appears to be happening. Days pass. Weeks pass. The ground looks exactly the same. Yet beneath the surface, life is unfolding in complete silence. Roots are growing deeper before leaves ever reach the sunlight. Your own journey often follows that same pattern. Invisible progress is still progress. Perhaps that's why certain moments in life arrive exactly when they do, not because the calendar decides, but because wisdom has finally caught up with possibility. There is beauty in realizing that every experience has shaped your ability to appreciate what truly matters. The future is not built only by extraordinary events. It is built by ordinary decisions repeated with patience, kindness, and purpose. So if you ever find yourself wondering whether brighter days are still ahead, remember this message. Hope is not pretending that every road is easy. Hope is choosing to keep walking because every step teaches something valuable. Confidence is not knowing every answer. It is trusting that you can grow through every new chapter that life places before you. One day, you'll look back at this season and smile, not because every wish unfolded exactly as imagined, but because you discovered something far more lasting. You discovered resilience. You discovered peace in uncertainty. You discovered that your greatest victories often began as quiet moments that almost seemed insignificant. As we reach the final lines, thank you for allowing this story to become part of your day. If these words brought you comfort, inspiration, or a new perspective, let that feeling travel beyond this moment. Share it with someone who may need encouragement. Leave a comment about the lesson that stayed with you the longest. And if you enjoy journeys that inspire reflection and hope, you're always welcome to return for the next chapter we create together. Now the horizon stretches before you once again. Fresh mornings will come. New opportunities will appear. Unexpected conversations will shape tomorrow in ways that today cannot fully explain. Walk toward them without carrying unnecessary fear. Carry curiosity instead. Carry gratitude. Carry the quiet confidence that every meaningful journey is revealed one step at a time. And whenever life feels uncertain again, remember these final words. The strongest hearts are not the ones that never face silence. They are the ones that learn how to hear possibility, even within it. Until we meet again, keep moving forward. Your story is still unfolding. And perhaps, its most beautiful chapter has only just begun.